has been completed. So there are basically two pipelines, one for data processing and one for endpoint. And then here is the code for the log processing which Udacity gave. And in the final cell, you run an endpoint in which you get a JSON result as an output of yes or no. So moving on to Azure ML Studio, as you can see here, the bank marketing dataset is present, which we uploaded using our Azure SDK. And you can see that this was done for Udacity course 2, and there is a web URI also for that. If you need to consume this dataset, then you can go above to the consume tab and basically download the configuration that you would be requiring. So that was all about the dataset. Moving on, now we have experiments. As you can see, I have an AutoML experiment. If I open this experiment, so right now you'll see a lot of runs. So these are basically the child runs. So I will actually toggle the child run button so that you can have a look at the single experiment, which says that the status has been completed for this experiment. And once I open this experiment, you'll see that there is a DAG, there is a graph, and then there is steps, outputs, logs, metrics, and all. So when I go to steps, you can click on run again, and you can get all the child runs that were run during this particular run. So if you click on models, so these were the models that were actually tried by AutoML to fit, and the voting ensemble model basically was the best model, and the best model has an explanation to it. So you can just click on view explanation, and so you can check the model here, and you can check the metrics of the models as well. I'll just try to show you how the model explanation works. Just give me a second. You click on models again, and you can see that there is a view explanation tab. If you click on that, you'll get a bunch of charts or something on which you can view the explanation that why this model is the best model and what are the top key features in the dataset that help in determining the output. Okay, so checking what is required next. Okay, so the next step is to deploy the best model. As I've already said that voting ensemble is our best model. So I'll click on the run ID. I'll go back to the experiments again. Just a second. This UI is a bit of confusing, so I keep on navigating between tabs and also. So you click on AutoML again, and I'll disable the child runs. I'll open the run 1, I'll do discard, and I'll check the child run for this run, which is run 2. Then in this I'll check the models, and in which I'll check the voting ensemble, and I'll click on deploy. So once you click on deploy, your model will be deployed, and in a few minutes, so the state would go from transitioning to healthy during the deployment process, and an endpoint would be created for you. So for me, I gave the name as the model best deploy, and you can see that the deployment status is healthy, and the compute type is ACI, which is a Azure Compute instance, and I have a set authentication to true as well. And here is the REST endpoint, which we can use to consume the model. And then I have also enabled the application insights to true, which means that I would be able to see the logs of the model as well. So this is the endpoint and the key if you want to consume your model, and these are the deployment logs if you want to see if there are any errors in the deployment process or not. So moving on, so this was about the model deployment. I'll just try to open the pipeline REST endpoint again. So basically this is a pipeline endpoint, and you can see the status is active here. So bank marketing train is the name of our endpoint, and if you actually want to see the details, you'll see that okay, there is a graph that has been put down. You can also submit it to run if you want to, and if you want to create a new experiment or select an existing experiment, you can feel free to run that. It is in the completed state at the moment because I'm recording this video after the completion of the experiment. And what else is required? Let's see. From the Udacity perspective, I want to understand what else is required. Okay, so step 5, step 7, on which step are we? Okay, so I'll run the python endpoint.py program again so that you can see the result, the JSON output of the result. And I have also included the screenshots for Swagger, and this is the tab in which the Swagger was open, and I have loaded the endpoint, and you can see how to consume this using a post command, post score. So this is the JSON output